Are you ready for the ultimate bikepacking weekend adventure? Join us for an unforgettable self-supported bikepacking trip through Southwest Virginia. The Grayson Gravel Pie Bikepacking Adventure travels along the Virginia Creeper Trail, the beautiful gravel roads of Grayson County, Virginia, and the New River Trail. All lodging and camping arrangements are included, along with daily routes and guides riding along with you. This self-supported adventure offers resupply opportunities every 20 miles for your food and water needs. Find out more at graveltraveldirt.com.
You're listening to Mid-Atlantic Gravel, Travel, and Dirt.
Hi, everybody. I'm Brian.
And I am Joey.
This is episode 240 of Mid-Atlantic Gravel, Travel, and Dirt. Super interesting podcast this week, if you ask.
And format.
Yeah. So we just had a conversation with Helena. Well, let's just H.
I knew you were going to butcher it, so I just cut over you.
She is an employee of the Pennsylvania Environmental Council, but she does maps.
She does everything.
Does gravel maps, goes on rides, and what
We didn't even scratch surface on a lot of her just regular rides.
Yeah, we did. Maybe we have to have her back for that
and then
talk about that.
The wild trips and everything.
We have some great discount codes for our listeners, and they're going to be over in the show notes. Go make sure to go and check them out. No crack of the week, because we're doing this. We have been like...
I've had coffee the last 2 times.
Yeah, we've been like testing new formats, doing interviews at different points in time, and pulling things together. We're really advancing our technique.
I like the morning interviews.
Yeah,
when you're the interviewer, you have the face for that.
I have a face for radio.
Yeah,
that's
me
true.
too. But
that's true.
It's nice. It's just different.
Is anything going on at the shop?
Currently, one
closed.
staff member is called out. The other one lost his keys, and while I went to look for my keys, I have lost my keys. So that's what's going on at the shop. But otherwise, we just had our big final Average Joe ride of the year, which was a lot of fun. We had 25, 30 people.
Yeah, it was fun.
Which was great because it was pretty cold. I think that kept some folks away. Might add, I don't know. But we had a nice ride. I cut mine short because I had someone was moody, someone was sick, someone had a bad mechanical, so I only did the first half. But it let me get back. It let me get my coffee before the rush of people, and I started the fires.
Yeah, when we got back, we had the solo stove going. The coffee truck was there.
Tiger espresso.
Which I had
we had like chocolate milk.
White hot chocolate.
Yeah.
And it was so good.
And then you got it at the end, too. I wish you would have got it early.
No, I got it at the perfect time. And it was creamy and frothy and foamy, and it was just absolutely perfectly done. And I think immediately I messaged you later in the day, and I was like, I need all of their socials because I need to find out when and where they're going to be somewhere again, because now all I want is
She was only in Solomon's from midsummer up until November.
Okay.
I used to go every week.
Yeah.
No, it was a lot of fun having a coffee truck there. And George from Sweet Street Donuts was very close, but he had another booking that he couldn't.
Oh, you imagine if we'd had the donut truck and the coffee truck?
Trust me. So I am already going to forecast when I think I want to kick off the rides next year and get on both their books.
Perfect.
George said just let him know.
Perfect.
Yeah, fresh hot donuts next to coffee, and then it actually was warmer by the time we finished, but the fire was nice.
Oh yeah.
We only needed one solo stove, but it was a fun morning. People actually hung out and socialized.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
the goal.
Yeah, and it was perfect. That's what they should all be like that. Honestly, it was just so nice. Now, folks, make sure you get something on your radar if you're in the Mid-Atlantic and you're looking for something to do the day after Christmas. We are doing our Boxing Day ride
NCR.
On the NCR or Tory Brown Rail Trail. It starts in Hunt Valley, which is where we're going to begin. Do we have a time on that yet, Joey?
9 a.m. roll.
9 a.m. roll. So be ready to roll out that parking lot at 9 a.m. And we're going to go all the way to New Freedom.
Yep.
And
get a food. I like the pizza place you mentioned, the sports bar, but I don't like sitting down too long. Hard time for me to get back.
We did that last year. We did the 7 sports bar because the little cafe is closed now.
Dead. That's the only thing about the day after Christmas is.
So the pizza place doesn't open until noon.
Yeah.
And the sports bar is open earlier than that. So
we'll figure it out.
And the sports bar, actually, when we went in there last year, it was really quick. It was as quick as a pizza place, So it's It was fine.
What's on their menu? Tell me everything. just kidding.
Typical
Got
like
latkes?
it's
Latkes?
more like a bar and grill kind of thing.
They
So
probably have wings.
yeah, they have wings. I think I had a burger or a sandwich or something last
Mhm.
year. It was really good. It was really good.
One final thing is our ugly sweater party thing, whatever we want, extravaganzas this weekend.
That's right. And I haven't announced this yet, Joey, but I'm going to do a ride at 3:00 from the shop.
Oh, I knew that. Darcy already told me.
Darcy already told you.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Told me to announce it before you did, so I made an announcement. Right
Did you
before the
really?
podcast. No.
Did you really?
Yeah.
I'm going to do a 3:00 ride.
Yep.
And the ugly sweater party is at 5 at the shop. Okay. And do people need to bring anything for the ugly
Bring a
sweater?
snack, bring a dessert. I kind of mentioned like a cookie exchange if people want. Not an exchange, but just bring some. Sick is going to do like charcuterie boards. I'm going to do a protein. I might get some pork butts tomorrow and smoke them at the shop.
Okay.
I got new ugly sweater.
Saturday's weather's supposed to be gorgeous.
Is it?
Yes, it's supposed to be.
Oh yeah, I'm doing trail work all half the day.
Like mid 50s to
Yep.
60 degrees in the afternoon. So we're doing an afternoon. It's not any 8 a.m. stuff. So we're going to do it right at the peak of the sunshine. Do about an hour, 15-minute ride, hour, 30-minute ride. Be back to the shop just before sunset.
Yep.
Well, let me say it. Well in advance of sunset, we will be back to the shop, and then you can change your clothes and run inside for the ugly sweater party. So bring your ugly sweaters. Don't wear them on the ride because then they will smell bad.
You can.
You could do whatever you want to do.
But yeah, that's what's going on this weekend.
Strava Club.
Strava Club, and let's see. I got to vet people, so it's going to take about an hour. No,
That's okay.
actually.
Start with the easy one. To break into the top 100 for the week, what did you need?
All right, last week. So we are actually we're at 923 members.
Nice.
Which is good. We're getting there. We're getting to mustache territory. Our 100th person was at 97 miles last week.
Nice. So that's up.
So
Nice.
yeah, that's not too bad. And so we have Nate Murray with 98.3 miles. Nate is from York, Pennsylvania.
Nice.
Well, wouldn't it be great if I just randomly chose a bunch of Pennsylvania people? For the Pennsylvania episode. We have Lee Goldberg from Silver Spring, Maryland. Lee had 113.5. And then our last person of the week is Reese Stanley. Reese Stanley is from Longmont, Colorado. He's from Go Green Racing. Reese had 229.8.
I think they were Reese was a recent
Oh, really?
random shout out. So
Recent.
Get it?
What's crazy is our top three, Sonia, Joe, and KG with 567, 381, and 320.
And that's some big miles for this time of the year. Holy smoke.
Sonia averages like 27 hours a week.
I don't know how, in fact, she does that.
27 hours on my regular job is tiring.
You remember when we used to just do the top three?
Yeah.
And it was always Sonia again, Sonia Pippin again, Sonia. But I think she listens to the podcast.
Yeah.
I at least I hope that she still does.
So.
I don't know.
But
I don't know.
yeah, that was a pretty solid week. Better than last week for the top 100.
Well, everybody, stick around and enjoy this conversation with H. Hey, folks, joining us right now, Helena Kotala from up in Pennsylvania. Helena likes to go as H, so we're going to call you H. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Awesome. So she is an outdoor adventurist who mostly bikes, but also runs, paddles, hikes, and more. You're a map maker, and you work for the Pennsylvania Environmental Council, which is obviously central Pennsylvania based. Thank you so much for joining us today to talk about maps and bikes and rides and all kinds of other fun stuff.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Now, when Joey threw your bio out to me and said, "Hey, let's talk to H," I was like, when I dug into it, I was like, "Oh, map maker! I am a map geek. I absolutely love mapping." And reading that little bit of a bio sounds a little bit like a dream job, quite frankly.
Yeah, it's not always as fun as it sounds, but yeah, absolutely. My full-time job is with the Pennsylvania Environmental Council. We're a statewide nonprofit in Pennsylvania, obviously, doing a variety of work on environmental conservation and a lot on trails and outdoor recreation, which is what my focus is on. And I head up our mapping department and then just do a variety of other work on trails and outdoor rec stuff. So yeah, it pretty much is a dream job.
Nice.
It is work, but I get to do stuff I'm passionate about and love every day. So,
How long
cool.
has the Pennsylvania Environmental Council been a thing? It sounds like a relatively...
Started in the early 70s. We
Wow.
celebrate 50th anniversary a couple years ago. So
Okay.
yeah, over 50 years old.
Nice.
Yeah.
Pennsylvania Environmental Council, you guys also put on a ride up in Pennsylvania, correct?
We do. It's called the Public Lands Ride. We've been putting it on since 2019. 2019 was the first year, and then 2020 we had to skip due to COVID, and then it's been going on for years since. So it takes place out of Black Shannon State Park, which is just northwest of State College, right in the center of the state. We have 3 different route options, about a 22-ish mile, 45, and 65. It's explicitly not a race. The
Thank you.
intent is just to like get people out riding. It's like a supported group ride, basically. You know, we have aid stations and all that, but we don't time people. We actually encourage people to stop and take their time and take photos. This past year, we had a bingo. So everybody
Nice.
got a bingo card on the back of their map. And
See, that's fun. We were just talking about this. Was it last week or the week before, Joey? And I think one of our this or that's was rides or races. And I think we all chose rides. I just love the vibe that comes out of something that is explicitly, you're not getting a chip, you're not getting a number, you're not getting none of that stuff. It's just like, oh, we're all going to meet at a place and, we're going to go and ride and here's your route and have fun.
Yeah.
You know, there's just a different vibe that goes along with it.
I think that's our listener base too.
I believe so.
Yeah.
I think we probably have some racy types too.
Yeah, maybe.
And there's nothing wrong with that. I don't want anybody to think that I think there's anything wrong with racing, because anytime you put people on any kind of vehicle, they're going to want to see if I can go faster than the next person.
Yeah.
I get it. That's sort of like who we are. It's ingrained in us, that competitive spirit. And I don't want to diminish that. But at the same time, the vibe of a specific, when it's called out specifically, this is a ride. I think the vibe just comes off different.
Yeah.
And I love that. Pennsylvania Environmental Council, do you have an office? It doesn't sound like something you'd have an office. Are you a remote worker or?
We do. We have 4 offices.
Wow,
yes.
Whoa, right on.
Shut them down.
Do you have a cubicle? Do you have a cubicle that you have to work in? Because that would be horrible.
No, it's sort of a half cube. It's like an semi-open floor plan.
Perfect.
Like half walls. I do have a couple windows, skylights.
Nice.
But we also, we have like a hybrid policy. So I work from home part of the time. We also travel a lot. So, I'll be like out in the field or going to another part of the state, usually once a week.
So I want to do a little bit of a geeky deep dive into the map making side of your duties, because I was joking about having an office and cubicle and all that, because I know there's a tremendous amount of mapping work that probably has to take place on a computer before you ever put boots on the ground.
Indeed.
What's the process in like the 50,000 foot view, and what's the driver behind somebody saying we need to build a route? And how does that process all begin from your perspective?
Well, so the mapping that I do for my day job is mostly not like building routes for biking or anything. Okay. It's, it could come from a variety of purposes, whether it's, hey, we need, a map of this trail that is planned and we need to go to this meeting and show, where it's going to go and how it relates to the greater landscape. Or we've done several like larger scale assessments of different regions of Pennsylvania and, potential cycling opportunities. But from the route making perspective, most of my route development is just like personal interest.
Okay.
So, I just love looking at maps and I love riding my bike. And so when I look at maps, I think, hey, I want to ride my bike there.
We speak the same language. You get paid to do it. I guess the way sometimes I do.
Yeah. So, it's really just like, how do I connect these places or like to this place in the most interesting way possible?
Okay.
But then, other people have come to me who are like visiting the area or are, interested in exploring and know that I just like to do this. And so have asked for routes. And I love to do it. So I always say yes.
Yeah.
But that's not my job with PEC per se. Though we did put together a few routes as part of the public lands ride in 2020. We canceled the in-person event, but then we thought, well, we still want to like get people out there, so we put together this series of routes that people could go do on their own or with small group of friends. And so we published 5 or 6 of them in 2020, and they were at different state forests, mainly in the like greater central Pennsylvania region. They all started at a state park that had camping, and then we're about like 45 to 65 miles in length. So kind of like a good day, but also not super crazy, just to like encourage people to go explore somewhere new and maybe camp and hang out someplace with amenities. And then people loved that so much, and they were like, wow, this really helped us get out there and see something new, especially, during this time when everybody's kind of going crazy with COVID. And so the next year I put together like 4 or 5 more routes, and we've, sort of slowly trickled publishing more and more routes since then. So that portion is part of my job with PEC. And yeah, the impetus for that was basically just like, hoping to get people out exploring different places, because we've got like so many awesome spots and so much public land in Pennsylvania to go.
That's such a fun idea. I'm sitting here, I'm digesting and listening to what you're saying, and what I'm hearing is, that COVID may have brought something pretty cool, because to try to put together rides in multiple places that may be closer to where people are. And then everybody's doing sort of the same thing on the same day, kind of creates this cohesive kind of thing. That's an interesting idea. I'm going to pick at that a little bit more. That's pretty cool, because that sounds like it would be a lot of fun. Like just, a bunch of different people in a bunch of different places, all say all within Pennsylvania. You all have like 4 or 5 different state parks that fit that mold that you just described, and everybody's going out and doing a ride, and it's a part of one thing, but everybody's in different places.
Yeah. Yeah.
It actually sounds cool.
Yeah.
It actually sounds like a lot of fun, a lot of work, but and we don't like that. But Joey and I avoid that at all costs. So I do some mapping. I'm a guide for ACA, and I know in Florida one year we had a hurricane come through, and it was when Mexico Beach was sort of destroyed. It's Hurricane Michael, and we had to completely and totally revamp the route. And I built a 6 riding day route just from maps without ever putting boots on the ground. And I only had one problem over, I think, 375 or 400 miles for 6 days. I had one road. It's hard to tell when you're looking at Google Maps and at Google Earth and stuff. The color of sand is often the same color as asphalt. So I had one sand road that I included and had to reroute when we finally got there and got boots on the ground. But it's just a lot of zooming and clicking and satellite views and street views and all of that stuff, putting it all together to make it all work, to make all the magic happen.
So
yeah,
I want to pivot over to like, so you're a cartographer, correct?
Yeah.
But say the average person like Brian has to do something like, what is some stuff you use that the everyday person could use to start?
Good question.
I mean, Pennsylvania is totally different than where I'm at in Maryland, and Florida. No one cares about Florida. Sorry, Brian. But like, you guys are very dense with forestry. Like some of the stuff you're not going to use with Google Earth and looking down. Like, where could someone start looking that's open to the public?
Yeah. So, I mean, I always build my routes and ride with GPS. I like to look at a variety of the different base map layers. So like one trick I've discovered is if a road's not on all the different base maps, it might not be actually a road.
Good tip.
So like comparing all the different base maps can be helpful. I also really like paper maps to start from for inspiration, honestly. Here in Pennsylvania, we are really lucky to have Purple Lizard maps. And so they've done these really awesome maps of a lot of the state forest areas, not all. So those are really helpful to start from. The DCNR's forestry public use maps also are free to download online, and they're a great resource as well. It's kind of a base. I like a paper map to start with because I feel like it gives you a broader perspective of the landscape. You can kind of get an idea of like how things connect together and where you want to go. And then I go into like Ride with GPS and actually map it out to see how far it really is and what the elevation's like. And yeah, I've got some tools that are accessible to me as someone who's like a little deeper into the field in like there's like a layer of unpaved roads that Penn State put together. That's like all the gravel roads in Pennsylvania.
Ooh, wow.
That but it's publicly available. You just have to have the sort of like the know-how or means to like pull that into some sort of mapping software to take a look at. But I mean, that's something I'd love to like I would love to put together some sort of online map that like pulls all this stuff together, like that layer of unpaved roads and different places to camp and just like resources to help cyclists plan routes with like all this information in one place. But
it's not easy. It's a very difficult and time consuming and tedious task. And it's like being the weatherman. A lot of times you can do all of that work and it just still comes out wrong. At certain places, at certain turns, it's like, oh, doggone it.
Yeah. I mean, no map or data is ever going to be 100% accurate to reflect what's actually on the ground at any given time.
In fact, I was just looking, and it's funny because I was doing this last night. I was looking for some dispersed camping opportunities in West Virginia. And you read online about all these different places, and then you go and you do the map views, and you look and you find them, and you kind of feel good about them. And then sort of my last step was the zoom in on the street view at the turns for the roads to kind of see exactly what it looks like. And this was the only place I found was that road was closed. And it was a bridge out, and it was like expected not to be done until 25, and all this kind of. I was like, oh, okay. Well, once you find those things, you dig a little deeper. But there's all these little data points that you have to kind of like discover and go through and find. It's fascinating. It's fascinating. I think you've really got to be a geek about it. Otherwise, I think it would drive you absolutely crazy.
Yeah, I know most people do not enjoy this, and they're just like, just please give me a route. And I'm like over here like, well, I like creating the route like just as much as writing it.
Yeah. It's there's a tremendous amount of like, I get a lot of a lot of joy out of doing that. I really do. It's fun. It's fun. In fact, I plan a lot of routes that I never even end up riding. Just throw them out on Ride with GPS, and that says, oh, look, I just did that because I was interested in the area, or there was something else that was happening in the vicinity of that. And, it's just, just looking around kind of thing. And you end up going, well, what if you connected this point to that point to this point to that point? It's very cool. It's very cool. Very rewarding. It's rewarding, I think, for me.
It is.
I will say real quick, Dr. Gabe has informed me Purple Lizard has a new updated map of Pennsylvania.
They do.
That actually,
map.
I think he said it distinguishes the difference between like ATV roads, like really rough Jeep trails, versus regular fire roads and stuff like that.
Okay,
a little bit more updated.
Your typical forest road versus something that's a little bit more rugged.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. And that's new from Purple Lizard. I've tried to get Purple Lizard to come on the podcast before, but they ignored me because I'm a map geek. It was years ago. I was like, and maybe we didn't have the following at the time. I was just like, I'm a map geek. I love hearing about this stuff. Now, when it's all said and done, it all gets dumped into. I know you sort of start with Ride with GPS, and then you modify, and then it probably ends up as a Ride with GPS route at the end of the day. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. That's the process.
Yeah.
It's neat. It's fun. So let's pivot for just a minute to something I think you did back in. I know it was this last year. It was the Grace and Gravel. And I know that's a series of routes, if folks aren't familiar, down in Grayson County. It's Virginia. Am I correct? Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, way southern Virginia.
Yep. And They had a ride that they put together, and you were a part of that, correct? Tell us a little bit about that if you can.
Yeah. So that was back at the beginning of October. So just a couple months ago. And my friend David Landis, who he put together the Trans Virginia route, as well as a variety of other biking and hiking routes. And he worked with Grayson County, Virginia. They actually came to him and they were like, hey, we want to put together a gravel route. They have two pretty well-known longer distance rail trails on either end of the county, the Virginia Creeper Trail and the New River Trail. But they basically, like, people get on these trails and then they go in the opposite direction. And Grayson County was like, hey, we've got like all these awesome gravel roads, but nobody really like knows to come and ride here. What if we can get people to ride between these two rail trails and connect them and create this loop out of them? So they worked with David to do that, and he put together this awesome route. There's the Grayson Gravel Traverse is just kind of like the one way connecting these two trails, and then he also put together a different return route called the Grayson Gravel Circuit. And the southern route, the Traverse, goes through a lot of just like super remote farm roads. It's like a lot of punchy climbs. You're basically like climbing and descending all the time. There's no flat land. Not a lot of like long climbs, just a lot of like constant up and down. But through these like super beautiful rural farm valleys and little creeks and boulders. And then there's a couple small towns you hit along the way, but it's like pretty remote. I think I like didn't have cell service at all for all of the first day.
Perfect. Nice. Nice.
Yeah. Pop out these little towns with these like cute, family run general stores. And it's just like a very, I don't know, almost like a return to the past a little bit, but like in a good way. Yeah. And then the northern route goes through the national forest a bit, and so it's sort of remote in a different way, in that like it's a bit more forested, and there's opportunities to camp up at some pretty high peaks. It like is around the highest point in Virginia. So we were up above 4,000 feet for a little bit on that ride. Super beautiful, I mean, it's a tough route, but there's ways to like break it up into some pretty manageable chunks.
I've actually done.
I highly recommend it.
I've done a little playing with that because when they first introduced that route, it was on my radar, and a lot of us, my ACA friends, we were all looking at that, going, "Hey, how could we put this together into something?" And so we started divvying it up and breaking it up into like where would be a good place to camp, and where would you stay, where would you get resupply, where would you all those things. It's just so much fun to just even sit and play with those ideas. Back to mapping again,
totally.
Yeah, so much fun.
Yeah.
Oh, so that was definitely been on my radar for a while, and it's cool to hear firsthand from somebody that's done that area. And I've done Virginia Creeper multiple times, and I've done New Rivers. New Rivers probably one of my absolute all-time favorite trail systems to go and spend 3 days on. Just start down in Galax and go out to Freeze, and then up to what is the name of the park that's up there? I'm blanking on it right now, but staying there. Foster Falls, something like that. I can't quite remember. But that whole system, and then the ability to kind of put those two together and traverse from one to the other, that's a super, super cool concept. And wow, what forward thinking the folks in the county and the tourism, they understood the assignment.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's like super cool thing about that route is like it came from within, it wasn't like some cyclist went there and was like, hey, you guys should put a route together. It was like they wanted it, and everybody we encountered was super excited to see us. It was like, we're so glad this is happening, and it was very cool.
I've said it for I do a lot of bike ped advocacy, and I did a lot. I used to do it. I got away from it for a while, and I'm kind of getting sucked back into it. And I always go back to even folks that do advocacy work don't understand many times the economic impact that systems like this can have in rural areas that are looking for opportunities.
Yeah.
It's massive. It's huge, and I hope that, and if it's not on the radar, I'm sure if they were forward enough down there to be thinking about building this trail, I think in about a year or two you're going to start to see them doing some economic impact studies and actually get some real results out of it. At least I would hope.
Yeah,
I think
I
that
hope
would be
so. There's not a lot of economic impact studies done on like gravel routes.
Mhm.
You know, there've been a lot done on rail trails. But yeah, I mean, we've, you know, with my job at PEC, we've searched, because, you know, part of what we do is we do some stuff with, you know, trying to help rural economies take advantage of outdoor recreation.
Mhm.
And yeah, so we looked for any kind of economic impact study on just like gravel and bike packing and routes that are not like a rail trail,
Mhm.
and
Right.
that's not out there. So
Yeah, because
somebody,
you see it a lot for Gap.
yeah,
There's I think they do
yeah,
one every few years, and the impact is huge. The impact is huge, and then you look at something like Leadville. Isn't Leadville sort of the same story?
It's got that background, yeah.
Yeah, it was a little dying town, and then they said, "Hey, let's do a running race," and then that turned into a mountain bike race, and it kind of exploded off of that, and that town is back to booming again based upon their recreational opportunities that they provide. So that's
Look
boy.
at Pennsylvania. Look at what the article came out about Unpaved in Mifflinburg.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Now let's talk about Mountain Wheel Club.
Hold on 1 second. Real quick.
Okay, you got another question, Joey. I'm sorry.
I would say H has a great blog about that.
Okay.
You can go read a little bit more in detail, and there's a couple of them out. Like I like yours, H, and I like Ben's, and then Vihan has a video.
Oh,
He, like emerged from the
yeah.
the darkness.
Well, Vihan had a baby.
Yeah.
And I think as happens to all of us, once you start having children, your cycling opportunities begin to shrink a little bit. So
Yeah.
that's where Vihan is.
But it was great. Me and my staff were looking at that route and thought it'd be something cool.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So I'll put links. I'll find all that stuff, Joe.
I got 'em right here.
Help me find all those links. I'm going to put all the links in the show notes. Mountain Wheel Club. What is it?
yeah. So a little over a year ago, my husband and I bought a new place, and it has a guest suite attached to it. And we're on 10 acres and border another 1,300 acres of Rothrock State Forest. And we've kind of always dreamed about having some sort of space where we could host people and have people come and stay and take advantage of like all the awesome opportunities that Central PA has to play outside. So we found this spot and thought, man, this is, you know, a perfect opportunity to do that. And so we have this guest suite that's attached to our house that we rent out. And so folks can come and stay here. But in addition to that, you know, with my love of building routes and just like wanting to give people a really cool experience, you know, we can curate routes for your group depending on, you know, what type of riding you want to do, or take you riding, do some guided rides. We had the Philly Bike Expo squad come out here this past summer, and they hung out and camped and went riding for the weekend, and we cooked meals for them and hopefully gave them a really cool Central PA experience. So it's basically a spot to come hang out and have fun and play outside.
Nice. Now, where can people find out more about that? How can they find
Yeah,
that?
so we have a website, mountainwheelclub.com.
Okay.
It's a work in progress, but hoping to get a little bit more content up there about some of the outdoor opportunities and routes and stuff like that. But it has, the basic information about how to book and the accommodations. Right now, we have an Instagram at Mountain Wheel Club. And then, if you have questions, you can also email mountainwheelclub@gmail.com.
Perfect. I'll put links to all that stuff in the show notes. We are set to do our very first gravel weekends in Pennsylvania. Something that Joey and I have talked about for a long time, and we're going to base out of Canton. And
nice.
We got some routes that go north into Tioga State Park, and then some routes that go south into the game lands, and then I've got a day that heads sort of east towards Towanda, and that's mostly rolling farmland. But I think we're about 80% of the route is of all the routes are gravel. They're not hardtop at all. So we're excited about that. Very, very excited about that. And we're
and I'll say we're located right in between Rothrock and Moshannon State Forests.
Okay.
So you can ride to either easily from our house. We're like 15, 20 minutes south of State College.
Okay.
So we're kind of like in the middle of this rural farmland valley, but also, pretty close to town.
Is there any way possible to build a route in the state of Pennsylvania that is less than 100 feet per mile? I've struggled with that. I've struggled with trying to pull that together. And I think my last day coming out of Canton towards Towanda is, and I think I'm pronouncing that right. I think that one comes out at about 80 feet per mile. So it's more.
You got to be intentional about it. It's possible, but
once you focus on it, I think once you focus on it, it's because there were a lot of roads where I would bounce over towards some sort of there's a river and some creeks, and I would bounce over towards them. But then as soon as you bounce towards them and come back out of them, it's like bam, you get hit with that sudden, not long climb, but like you were talking about, that sawtooth kind of an approach. So when you intentionally avoid that little left turn over or that north turn or whatever it is, and you kind of find that little cut road, but I think I am going to have, because most of my work has been done with Ride with GPS. So I do believe, and I do a lot of Street View to make sure that streets actually exist, or the roads actually exist before we, actually finally commit to something. And I had built all of these routes, and my intent was to come up and sort of pre-ride them in the I guess it would be very late fall. And I knew I had a very short window to actually accomplish that before the weather kind of turned, and I missed it. So that's going to be a spring endeavor. So some of our routes could actually change, I'm sure, based upon the boots on the ground kind of an approach. But it's tricky. It's tricky for sure. So, well, that's good. That's great. The Mountain Wheel Club, folks, we're going to put links in the show notes to find that. H, thank you so much for spending this time with us and talking about maps and geeking out on maps. I love geeking out on maps. And just talking about riding bikes and having fun in general. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
You want to stick around for this or that's?
Sure.
What'd you do, Joey?
Said I'm back. Sorry.
Joey ran away for a while. Joey went out and he was like doing something. I don't know what you're doing.
One of my employees lost his keys.
Oh,
at the store.
Oh, great. Well, then we'll do this, and then you can go deal with your key issue. First item this week, and H, since you are a guest, you get the opportunity to answer first. Then I will provide my input, and then Joey will muck it all up. First item: Pennsylvania mountains or Pennsylvania farmland?
Ooh, I gotta go mountains, but it's a toss up. I love mountains. But we've got such beautiful rolling farmland valleys, and so
I just
love it all.
I absolutely love farmland. I love. I know you don't get the views and the vistas and the things that go along with being up in the mountains. I get it, but there's something very, I don't know, grounded and earthy to me to the idea of farmland. And I know after a while it gets really super boring. I know I did Gravel Worlds a couple of years ago, and out in Kansas, like, oh look, more corn. Look, some more corn. Look, more corn. It gets really old after a while, but I still do. I'm drawn to the farm of this because you never know when you're going to pop out into a little town. Joey?
It's tough because we live in farmland,
Yeah.
and I love the farms. I mean, the mountains are pretty. I'm not the best in the mountains. Like it's we're Marylanders. Like H has gotten me through a ride one time. I went up there a couple of years ago, and everyone sees me suffer.
That's okay.
So
I mean,
I could do the rolling stuff.
you know, you're a product of your environment in many ways on a bike. You know, when all you have available to you, like we have here, is sort of like rolling, punchy climb every once in a while. You know, you're a product of your environment.
Yeah.
So, second item: whoopie pie or a moon pie?
Whoopie pie.
All day, huh?
Yeah.
You almost have to. You almost have to say that. So, I love me a moon pie. You throw a moon pie in the microwave for 20 seconds, and it like the whole thing comes apart because the marshmallow inside of it just like balloons up, and the waxy chocolate that's like probably not real gets like real soft and runny and goopy.
Yeah.
I love me a moon pie. I'm gonna be the heathen in the group.
Ooh.
And I'm almost gonna have to go with moon pie.
You knew I was going with whoopie pie, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely, all day long.
Whoopie pies all day.
All day. What are they also? They've got a bunch of different names too for whoopie pies. Gobs. What's some other names? I don't know. Third item: H. State parks or national forests?
Well, I'm gonna have to go with state parks because that's what I'm more familiar with.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have I mean we have Allegheny National Forest up here, but I don't get to spend a ton of time in national forests. So
I find state parks a lot of times have better amenities. They will provide, even if it's something like a pit toilet. In a national forest, you just don't get them. You know, I did 2 weeks. I led 2 weeks of tours up in Grand Canyon, up on the North Rim, and beautiful park. You know, on the North Rim, you don't see people. You know, there's nobody up there. But it also means there's no amenities, and absolutely nobody knows how to dig a hole. It's like you go back, 20, 30, 40 feet off of any kind of road or system or trail system, and it's like a toilet paper flower suddenly bloomed. Nobody knows how to deal with it. So state parks all day long for me, Joey.
Well, I'm dealing with the state parks in Maryland, and
You're
it's
not
like
happy with them right now.
But I do love. I can't even imagine if I was trying to deal with national parks for trail work. Yeah,
Is that even a thing?
I'm talking to a wall right now with state parks, but they're great.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Maryland has some of the finer.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not the state parks themselves, but like you said, the amenities. Pennsylvania's right there with it too.
Yeah, absolutely.
The Mid Atlantic's pretty special. State parks.
I do. National forests have the one thing: the dispersed camping. That's typically something that you find. BLM lands and national forests. There's just tremendous more opportunities to sort of really get back to the roots of just roaming, so to speak, and being able to kind of like set up a little overland camp anywhere you like. But state parks all day long, especially when you're dealing with bikes and you gotta you want to do a multiple day thing, and you need to be able to cook food and you want to take a shower. You know, that's kind of for me. Okay, last item on this or that's for the week: ghosts or fairies?
Oh boy, ghosts.
Nice. I have two. I'm going to go with ghosts. Absolutely. Joey?
I'm going to go with fairies.
Joey is deathly afraid of ghosts. Every once in a while, I'll let him know that his condominium here is haunted, and I think it sets in for a couple of days.
Where I live in townhomes on an old World War II base,
you know,
and we're right where their hospital was, so it's a little,
I live at the top of a hill that was a campsite in the Revolutionary War, so I know I have ghosts. Absolutely, there's ghosts, and fairies aren't real. Fairies aren't real. Ghosts are real, Joey. Ghosts are real.
All right then.
Okay. Well, one more time, the H. Thank you so much for spending a few minutes with us today and talking about maps in Pennsylvania. The more we used to early in the day, we would throw Pennsylvania up against like West Virginia into this or that, or North Carolina into this or that, and it was always kind of mixed. But I think both of us have come full circle now. I mean, we could go Pennsylvania all day long. Absolutely.
No.
Without a doubt. So, folks, it is about time for us to shut it down. Thanks, everybody, for listening to this episode of Mid-Atlantic Gravel, Travel, and Dirt. If you enjoyed the podcast, maybe consider joining our Patreon family. We really do appreciate all of that support. And, Joey, I have envelopes in my truck right now that I'm getting ready to drop off at the post office to all of our Patreon folks that have this month's stickers in them. So they're going out today. Joey, how can folks get in touch with us if they're looking to do that?
Our website is graveltraveldirt.com. It has all the details on there, and our Instagram is at MidAtlanticGTD. And then, H, do you want to give out some of your handles real quick for like Mountain Wheel and your blog and stuff?
Yeah. So my blog is HelenaKotala.com. And then my Instagram is also at Helena Kotala. You can find Mountain Wheel Club at mountainwheelclub.com and at Mountain Wheel Club.
Nice.
Excellent.
Thanks for riding along with us this week. Until next time, do good, be nice, go slow, respect others.
Love you, bye.
Love you, bye.